Welcome to the third presentation in this series. My intention is to give you a wide perspective and insight into your higher dimensional selves. The content in this presentation is building on the links and clues which were established in the earlier series, Series 1, Law by Consent, and Series 2, Money, Law and Freedom. If you haven't seen them, they are a grounding in the lower dimensional perspectives and a bridge to the higher dimensional views expressed in this material. Much of my views and opinions are formed by my recent experiences, but in truth I am, a continuous work in progress. The whole course of our individual lives and its journey runs to a script to give us an experience in this life for our self-development or our soul development. We are so much more than what we currently perceive in this 3D world, and it is my intention and joy to attempt to depict that wider view for you to assist in your own expansion into your greater awareness and perception beyond the veils of deception and lower vibrational discord. We are voyagers. Much of my higher dimensional awareness has come to me through the work of Ashayana Dean and Our Highest Productions, which can be found on the internet. The Voyagers books are a fascinating snapshot of human history from a higher or extra-dimensional perspective. This spark of insight from these books, Voyagers 1 and 2, has transformed my own perspective and views about who I am and why we are here. This knowledge has allowed me to step out of the limited perceptions which are cultured, imposed and indoctrinated into us from birth, giving me a freedom from the limited third-dimensional view of reality. By taking the steps to explore ourselves and to step out of the box or the coffin which we lay in state or stasis until we recognize who we really are, our whole experience comes to life, and then we experience a richness and abundance to life that we could not have otherwise comprehended. I have briefly described the Harmonic Universe in my previous presentation, Money, Law and Freedom. I intend to expand on this more, giving a sense of what that really is and what we experience at the different levels of conscious experience within our harmonic universe, or time matrix. Essentially, the harmonic universe is an energetic structure through which our consciousness can explore physical, material experiences for the purpose of increasing awareness or creating expansion of the whole conscious experience. It could be likened to a computer simulation. We choose to enter the reality game structure to have an experience and to develop our skills or expand our perceptions. To the best of my understanding, in the universal structure that we are currently experiencing, our consciousness has the capacity and the intention to experience 15 levels of conscious perspectives before returning to the whole or the collective which lies beyond any all-dimensional structure. This adventure can take eons. The Harmonic Universe is a 15-level computer simulation where your consciousness engages and interacts with the various levels of environmental consciousness as a journey of enlightenment and adventure for your own self-development, pleasure and experience. The structure which we live within has been designed to allow an eternal opportunity for growth and expansion of your consciousness experience. What you choose in any moment creates an experience for you, and you are guided by laws of energy that are the rules by which the energy matrix is governed. Different rules apply at differing levels of the game. The game is essentially a free will experience guided by energetic laws which deliver consequence for action. As the consciousness learns and expands, it opens the gate to new and higher experiences which are characteristic of that higher conscious environment field. I'm going to explain more about the levels of consciousness fields with which we are interacting and detail some of the experiences which we encounter within those specific frequency bands of consciousness perspective. By becoming aware of this truth about the nature of our reality experience, we can empower ourselves to move in ways which benefit our gameplay, so that we can navigate through the game effectively and to our own advantage and for those around us. This stops us being used or played like pawns on the chessboard. When we become masters of ourselves, we are masters of our reality in this dimensional game, and so we become the players, not the played. The most fundamental piece of the jigsaw puzzle is that of being connected to the source energy, the direct connection to your true self and the God perspective. This all-encompassing consciousness of which we are fundamentally a part is infinite energy and eternally abundant. When you realize this fact and align to it, you are able to manifest your desires as you choose according to your soul purpose and mission in this life. HU.MAN, or Harmonic Universe 1. The first level of the Harmonic Universe comprises of the first levels of identity of the human conscious experience. In fact, the entire matrix is designed for our exploration of identity as an individuated experience of self. The first levels of self that the identity experiences within HU.1 are equivalent to the dimensional values of consciousness, 1D, 2D, 3D, or the frequency bands of those dimensions. So what does the consciousness experience at those levels? Well, the developing consciousness is initially primarily concerned with, in one dimension, survival and security, second dimension, sexuality and creativity, third dimension, emotion and willpower. The consciousness experiences events of a nature relating to these categories as it interacts with the bands of frequency in the respective dimensional layer. It is known as the incarnate identity. The second level of the Harmonic Universe, HU2, comprises of the higher levels of identity of the human conscious experience. The higher levels of self that the identity experiences within HU2 are equivalent to the dimensional levels of consciousness 4D, 5D, 6D, or the frequency bands of those dimensions. The developing consciousness in this frequency is known as the soul identity and is primarily concerned with 4. Love and connection, 5. Truth and communication, and 6. Intellect and vision. We are currently experiencing a transition from the third through to the fourth, fifth and sixth dimensions of conscious perspective. Depending on what your current focus is, your consciousness will be having experiences that challenge those perspectives. The majority of the human consciousness present on Earth today is experiencing between the third and the sixth dimensions. There is an awareness of some of the higher levels of consciousness, but it is not physically manifest in our reality for us all at present because the majority of the collective is still concerned with transcending the lower consciousness bands of frequency. Most people are focused on surviving, personal security, sexuality, material pleasures, human will, ego, and hiding their truth. Once we as a collective embrace the higher aspects of ourselves, we will fully shift into the HU2 experience. The consciousness experience continues beyond HU2 into HU3, HU4, and HU5. At this level of consciousness, we are considered as rishi or adepts with full capacity to move in and out of dimensional form at will. This is what's called angelic. The human angelic form is a multidimensional experience or capacity to maneuver through time and space, or dimensions of matter, or non-physical states of being. It is a truly incredible state to contemplate. Our understanding of time at this level of perception in the HU1 band is different to how time works on a multidimensional level. Time is not linear. There is no beginning or end. What we experience as the passing of time is really the consciousness having experiences to accrete the level of awareness to be able to move to the next higher band of conscious experience. Imagine being on a roundabout. You go around and around continuously. At first, it's quite frightening perhaps because it is unfamiliar and you're not sure what's happening. Your body gives you emotions and sensations to make sense of the experience. After a few goes round and round, you begin to get used to it. Then you start to enjoy it and even experiment with it, being playful and inventive, seeing what it feels like to be on it upside down or moving against the direction of the rotation. Then after a while you feel like you have had the experience. There's nothing more to be gained. It might even make you feel sick, so you begin to think about doing something else and you wonder how to get off. Until you take a leap of faith, Or you spot the rope ladder hanging down nearby to catch a hold of and climb up and out of the roundabout, you will continue to go round and round, getting more bored or more sick. So let's imagine our harmonic universe is a magnificent carousel with many levels to it, spinning around and around, never stopping. The first level nearest the ground represents HU1, and the next level above represents HU2, and so on. As the carousel goes around and around, you get to sit on the beautiful horse for a bit, and then you might try a train driver, or maybe you just wander around in and out of all the lovely sculptures, being free and admiring the colours or the music and the lights. As you explore and become familiar with the level, you become comfortable, and then perhaps feel a bit stagnant or bored, so you begin to go in search of something, desiring something more to your experience. Eventually, at exactly the right time, you stumble across a doorway in the central column. You wonder if you should venture inside because it looks dark and unfamiliar. You look back once more at the horses and the lions and the tiger sculptures whirling around, and a slight sense of nausea gives you the impetus to take the step forward into the unknown, where you find a spiral staircase. As you ascend the staircase, you feel apprehensive, but then you see a light up above, and as you emerge out of the spiral column, you stumble into a whole new level of experience in fairground fun. So just how long is a revolving carousel? Well, it's been 26,000 years since the last opportunity of that doorway to the central stairway, opening up to anyone looking for the way to the next level. The carousel continues to turn, but at this level of consciousness, due to the burdens and the wear and tear placed upon the structure, it is now time for all of us whom are looking for that new experience to take the steps towards the doorway and to venture through to new horizons. By moving your conscious focus towards higher-minded ways of being, such as embracing love and compassion for all things, forgiveness and acceptance, relinquishing the ego and surrendering to being part of something much greater than your own human will, you can align your own frequency to that of the next level on the multidimensional carousel. By taking good care of yourself, your body, your emotional body, and moving in the direction of expanding, learning, seeking the truth of your own being and the world around you, and then moving towards assisting others for their own self-realization, we create the harmonious universe we desire and thereby transcend this tired and worn-out reality of trials and tribulations. We are moving into what has long been known as the Golden Age. This is a period of time where the frequencies are heightened and our consciousness gets an injection of energies to boost our levels of consciousness in order for us to make that quantum leap to the next level. The Golden Age is said to last for a period of 1,000 years, after which time the injection of energies fall off and the cycle continues for another 26,000 years. Those whom choose to stay in the current time cycle of HU1 will continue to experience this same level of consciousness. Those whom are actively seeking more harmonious lives and are taking the steps towards that will gravitate to the new time cycle. We see great advances in medical care. In fact, illness becomes history. All are healed in the new Earth time cycle. Disease is derivative of a lack of spiritual awareness, and the body gives indication of that subconscious condition through the physical body. We begin to live more naturally and closer to nature. Eventually, the dualistic reality with which we are currently sharing space falls away, and it continues to live out its karma in a separate time cycle. From our perspective, it becomes the past. You could say it remains on the lower level of the carousel. It's still there, but we no longer experience it. Where am I at? The next few slides are a basic description of what consciousness experiences at the various levels of identity. My own perceptions of the upper levels of the harmonic universe are unformed as yet, and I rely on intuition and the resources provided by the Guardian Alliance through Speaker 1, Ashayana Dean's books, interviews, for my awareness here. We are all familiar with the first level of harmonics. We are regularly engaged in surviving, making ends meet. We experience physical and material pleasures. We often experience conflict in our daily lives and can feel vulnerable and defensive in response to others and the actions they may take. We experience competing and competition, and sometimes people want to exert power and control over us, using their own will above the will of others, without concern for the effects of that. We can often feel isolated or loneliness, or sometimes we have a fixation on physical or sexual gratification for release of tension and discord. We experience a method of trial and error to acquire skills and knowledge, and we pursue or admire creativity, invention, and intellect. We are largely self-serving and meet our own needs, and sometimes manipulate others to have our needs met when we can't meet them ourselves. As we progress our consciousness accretion levels, we move towards more harmonious interactions and become less selfish, less competitive, and more respectful of the needs of others, but without sacrificing our own selves or our values. We primarily experience compassion for all things, acceptance of ourselves and each other as we actually are, and not who we think we should be. We become more vocal in voicing our own truth and perspective without shame, guilt, or embarrassment for who and what we are. We take responsibility and let go of the blame game. We can express ourselves without fear, and we stand up for what we believe in. We become our own authority, and we can see through the lower dimensional consciousness. We are able to perceive its manipulations and stand above them where they no longer work. We have compassion for the lower consciousness and understand that it is simply in a state of evolution, as we once were and still are. We begin to perceive our higher dimensional self and have unusual experiences as our faculties begin to open up and develop. We become visionaries and see beyond the mere 3D scape. We know we are a soul and that we are on a journey for our greater development. We wish to assist others in their journey, and we become creators of things, which shows a better way to be. We release from fear and survival, stepping into our personal power. The third level of identity is recognized as a collective called the Oversoul. We are unified, and we become at one with all things. We are powerful creators serving the greater good, and we maintain our sovereignty and mastery over our being. We realize others as self, and we do no harm to others, for it is harming the self. The fourth level of identity is the Avatar, a highly advanced level of being with freedom to move multidimensionally, perhaps still within a set of limitations, until one has mastered the skills necessary for greater travels. One is in service to others, and, as a means to advance their own course of development, assists on missions for the betterment and self-realization of others whom are at lesser degrees of conscious development. I'm guessing that there's a certain amount of bliss thrown in too. The fifth level of identity is the Rishi or Adept. This is a collective with vast experience and is commonly referred to as an Ascended Master. It ought to be noted that what we sometimes refer to as Ascended Masters in the current spiritual movement are not necessarily beings whom have achieved this Rishi Adept status. Everyone here on planet Earth has their own reasons for being here, and there are many different agendas. The one thing that is common to all, however, is the benefit of free will and the incredible empowerment that human DNA has. This very special quality that humans are naturally endowed with, and the Earth itself and all it represents within the multidimensional time matrix structure, amounts to a very desirable piece of real estate. As such, this region of our galaxy has been fought over for eons. Intruder races captured Earth and set up a control matrix to dominate the Earth humans, to prevent the evolution of humanity into its full and natural multidimensional capacity. Humans were intended to be the guardians of this region of the galaxy. Earth is a place of exquisite natural beauty, with an abundance of life and diversity. It is a living library of DNA, rich in all kinds of materials and minerals which are sought after by beings from other worlds. Earth is a key piece of the multidimensional gateways that give access to the multidimensional structure through time and space. Earthlings were to be stewards of this incredible creation and to assist in the development of other races. There are many beings here on the planet whom are assisting in the liberation and restoration of humanity back to the forefront of creation. These beings are mostly of a higher dimensional nature and have come here to change the dynamic of the control domination agenda. The old structures are being broken down by a collective of beings which might be alluded to as Earth Angels. They are working in many different capacities to break humans out of the chains which they have fallen into by their consenting to a system which has been designed to remove their individual sovereignty. It is important to acknowledge that all beings came here as a choice in their own evolution, and we are not victims. There are many races involved in the upliftment of humanity at this time, and this stage of development has been long awaited by those races participating. There are many whom are dependent on the success of the Earth Project. Those whom resonate with freedom and joy, love and compassion will ascend to the new Earth, a purified version of Earth at a higher dimensional frequency. Others will continue to play out their karmic debts. By connecting to and trusting your bond with the infinite source energy, you are separating yourself from the lower dimensional perspectives. You heal your own karmic patterns through wisdom, awareness, and compassion, which purifies your own spirit, opening the gates to heaven. Your frequency is raised so that you can pass into the higher dimensional experience of consciousness. When you are able to maintain a stable and coherent level of trust in the infinite source of abundance, your vibration is reflected in the physical plane and your perception of the physical reality. By trusting and focusing on infinite abundance, we become infinitely abundant and infinite. This is the physical manifestation of the golden age. Remember that time happens in cycles. It is not linear. The cycle of the golden age is already playing out on the next level of the carousel. We must align with it and take steps towards it to experience it. A gateway will be open to all people whom are ready to take the steps forward. If you engage with the source directly, you can receive direction and guidance from your own spirit guides to move you towards your soul path and intentions for this life.